Some people drain your energy without even trying. You sit down with them, full of excitement. Maybe you've got travel plans, a new idea, something you're proud of. And 5 minutes later, you feel like canceling the whole thing. Not because they shouted at you, not because they were cruel, but because every sentence starts with a warning, a caution, a sigh. It's not direct, it's subtle, but it pulls the light out of your day like someone slowly dimming the room while smiling politely. And maybe you've started to wonder if it's you. Maybe you're too naive, too optimistic, too easily excited. That's what pessimists are good at. Making hope feel like weakness, making joy feel like a setup for disappointment. And when it happens often enough, you start editing yourself, you share less, you shrink. Not because you lost the spark, but because someone kept pouring water on it for your own good. The strange thing is, pessimists never see themselves that way. If you call them negative, they'll laugh. No, I'm a realist. They think they're smart, rational, sharp. They've read the research. They've done the math. They see the risks you've overlooked. And to be fair, sometimes they're right. Sometimes optimism blinds us. Sometimes we do need someone to say, "Hey, have you thought about what could go wrong?" But there's a difference between caution and chronic negativity. One helps. The other weighs everything down. A true pessimist doesn't just question an idea. They slowly convince you it's doomed. Not because they hate you, but because somewhere in their mind, protecting people means expecting the worst. And sharing that worst constantly is, in their eyes, a gift. The truth is, no one's born a pessimist. It's something people learn, usually through disappointment. Maybe they trusted the wrong person, lost something important, got hurt one time too many. And instead of healing, they built a worldview where nothing surprises them, because they've already predicted disaster. It makes them feel safe, in control, prepared. But that safety has a price, and often other people end up paying it. So how do you deal with a pessimist without losing your joy or your mind? Dealing with a pessimist isn't about fixing them. That's the first thing you need to know. You won't talk them into joy. You won't convert them with sunlight and quotes about believing in yourself. And honestly, that's not your job. You're not here to drag someone out of the shadows they've chosen, but you are allowed to stop letting those shadows fall on you. Protecting your energy starts with recognizing what's yours and what isn't. That heavy feeling after a conversation, that deflated mood that wasn't there an hour ago, that isn't weakness. That's emotional osmosis. You absorbed what wasn't yours. And just like you wouldn't wear someone else's wet clothes, you don't have to carry their worldview either. So how do you stay open without being pulled under? It starts with boundaries, not the kind you announce on Instagram with a hashtag and a nervous smile. I'm talking about quiet, confident choices. You don't have to argue with a pessimist. You don't have to prove your point. You don't even have to respond to every warning they give. Sometimes protecting your joy means saying less, not out of fear, but out of clarity. You can listen. You can nod. You can even say, "I get that's how you see it." And then you move on. You return to your idea, your plan, your version of hope. Because here's the truth. Optimism is not naivety. It's not ignorance. It's a muscle, a practice, a conscious decision to believe in better despite the evidence. And that belief, it doesn't make you foolish. It makes you brave, because it's easy to point out what might go wrong. It's easy to say, "Be careful." It's much harder to say, "Let's try anyway." So if you're the one carrying that light, don't let someone convince you it's too bright. Don't dim yourself just to make them more comfortable. And if they call you unrealistic, let them. Better to dream and adjust than to sit still and rot. You can care about someone and still not let them color your entire outlook. You can love them and still decide not to take their fear home with you. This is the emotional maturity most of us were never taught. The compassion and containment can live side by side. So no, you don't have to cut them out of your life, but you might have to stop letting them narrate your story. You're not here to live in someone else's forecast, especially when it always predicts rain. So what if the pessimist isn't someone else? What if, quietly, slowly, without meaning to, it became you? It doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're a bad friend, or a bad partner, or a bad leader. It just means somewhere along the way, life taught you to watch your back before you opened your heart. It means you've been burned by people, by plans, by things that didn't go the way you hoped. And now you protect yourself with logic, with facts, with caution. And on the surface, it works. But underneath, you've started noticing that fewer people share their excitement with you. Fewer people ask what you think unless they're looking for a reality check, not encouragement. You don't mean to kill the energy in the room. You just want people to be prepared, safe, realistic. And yet, every time you raise an eyebrow, or say, "Have you thought about what could go wrong?" you feel something shift. Something in them pulls back. Their smile dulls. Their idea shrinks. And then they say it, maybe not to your face, but to someone else. It's hard to be excited around them. If that's hitting something in you right now, take a breath. You don't have to beat yourself up. You're not a villain. You're just tired of watching people get hurt by the things you've already seen coming. You started thinking, if I can help them brace for it, maybe it won't hit as hard. But here's the truth. Bracing for life isn't the same as living it. And warning people about things that haven't happened yet doesn't make you wise, it makes you closed. So what now? You start by being honest, not about the world, but about your own beliefs. Ask yourself, when did I stop trusting that good things can happen? When did I decide that protecting people was more important than believing in them? And am I actually protecting them? Or just projecting my own fear into their future? Because there's a difference, and here's the hardest part. You may need to apologize, not for having doubts, but for how you've shared them, for the times you dimmed someone's light in the name of caution, for the joy you stepped on without realizing. And that apology doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it sounds like, you know what? I was wrong. I didn't see what you saw, but I'm glad you went for it anyway. And then, and this is the real work, you start shifting where you put your attention. You start asking what else might be possible, what else might go right, what might happen if you loosen your grip on certainty and open your hand to surprise. It's not about becoming blindly optimistic. It's about giving hope a seat at the table again, not as a threat, but as a choice. You've spent enough time being the one who sees the storm coming. Maybe now it's time to learn how to dance in the rain.